got this far, because when I think about the leaders that I have the privilege to sit beside today, I'm in awe of the work that they do. And before we get started, I'd like for them just to take a moment just to introduce themselves really quickly.
Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nadine DeChaussee. I'm the Chief Strategy and Insights Officer at Communities Foundation of Texas.
Good afternoon. I'm Terrence Spade. I wear a couple of different hats. I'm the CEO of Russell Glenn Company. We're the co-developers for the shops at Redbird, and I'm also the board chair for the new established Redbird Public Improvement District.
Good afternoon, everyone. Zarin Gracie, council member for the City of Dallas, this district right here, former board member for the Harmony CDC, and current member of Concord Church.
All right, so let's get into this. And one of the reasons why we really wanted to bring this panel up is to really give you an opportunity to get a deep dive into what's going on in the Redbird area. Some things will be familiar to you, other things may not be familiar to you. But as I sit here and we were just kind of thinking about Redbird, and I don't know how many of you guys remember when it was Redbird Mall back in the day. I'm from a town about an hour and 5 minutes away from here, and from time to time, my parents may not have known that I had journeyed up to Redbird Mall. However, I was grateful that I made it back safely, but that's how important that mall was, that the little country girls would drive up to the big city of Dallas and go to Redbird Mall. And so I'm so excited, not just because of the nostalgia that this area has for me, but just to see the development and how things are growing here. And so when I think about Redbird, and I think about this community, and for each one of you, you've been involved both personally and professionally in this community. Tell us in one sentence, what does Southern Dallas mean to you personally, and why does the work here at Harmony, why is it so important and something that we should continue to do? Nadine, I'll start with you.
Okay. Well, before I answer your question, I just want to express my thanks for having the opportunity to be here, and my congratulations to Harmony CDC, longtime partners at CFT. On behalf of the funders here, CFT and others, we just want to thank you for the partnership and really our opportunity to help your mission go further. I personally am not a Dallasite. I am from Canada, of all places, and moved here from New York. And so my connection to Southern Dallas is not personal in that way. Southern Dallas is the place that I serve. And I consider it a privilege to be able to serve this community in partnership with leaders like the ones here who are shaping the future of Southern Dallas.
Well, like you, I'd like to express my congratulations to Pastor Porter, Pastor Carter for 25 years of impact. So thank you for all your work. Southern Dallas for me, if I can describe it, I would say gratitude. I feel very fortunate to be able to come back home to a community that I grew up in, and to be a part of change. And so for me, that is very meaningful and impactful.
And I'll piggyback on the congratulations to both my church bosses, I'm gonna call them. They're Pastor Porter and Pastor Carter. Southern Dallas is going through this shift right now, and for me, what that means is opportunity. I mean, you started this out talking about, just the remnants of Redbird Mall and what it used to be, and how many people, if you grew up and lived around here, still capture and talk about that like it was yesterday. And for me, it's the opportunity, because it never left. It's how can we now begin to enhance those assets that we have right now.
So Terrence, okay, so you mentioned you're part of the development team, and you've helped the transformation of Redbird Mall into the shops at Redbird. I'll sit up straight when I say that, the shops at Redbird. And so when you think about that, what did it take to get that work done? And then how have you partnered with Harmony over the years to continue that work? And is there anything else that the folks in this room should know, ways that they could potentially lean in to really help to make sure that work continues?
No, I definitely appreciate that. So I call it my 3 Ps. The first thing that I think it took was Peter, Peter Brodsky. to walk on water. It took that sort of thing. No, Peter Brodsky, who really took a chance on Redbird Mall with the investment and vision. The second thing I would say is patience. You know, this mall was originally built 50 years ago, and it went through a series of decline. And you know, we've been very fortunate with our strategy that we've implemented, that we're starting to see the fruit of our labor. And we're really excited about this next phase of Redbird and the things that we'll be announcing here soon. And then the last thing I would say, it took passion. This project has truly been a labor of love. You have to have really tough skin. You hear no a lot. But I think because of that perseverance, we are now starting to see this new investment that's happening that's going to be really exciting going forward. Harmony has been so instrumental in the lifeline of this community. So when we have investors or retailers visiting, the first thing we point to is Concord Church and Harmony. Because they know that there's vitality in the area, there's community, a sense of community. Harmony consistently hosts events at Redbird to create this sense of place, and so they've just been the ideal partner. And on your final question, we have some new restaurants that we're going to be announcing. We're getting ready to start construction on a new children's medical. We have some new retail coming in. So 2026 is going to be, 2027 is going to be a great year for the Shops at Redbird.
You know, Councilmember Gracie, Terrence mentioned that Harmony's been a great partner. And when you think about it, you know, he touched on it a little bit, both on the private, you know, working with private partners and public partners. I mean, in your seat at the City of Dallas, share with us a little bit why it's so important to keep organizations like Harmony around and why it's such a valuable asset to the community.
Well, I mean, we're here celebrating 25 years, so first and foremost, Harmony has been here in the community, and he said it best. They are the lifeline. They are been the organizations that have been here providing those resources, providing the stability, the mental health and wellness. And again, so as, you know, one now being an elected official, but as a former city employee, and being able to know that there's grants that are being awarded to Harmony over the years. It starts with a small grant here, a small grant there, and I think what has happened is they've been able to secure their position as a trusted organization within the community, not just in how they serve, but with the good stewards of the funds that they receive, both from the City of Dallas and many more. So what happens next is, because they are able to do that, they begin to be able to reach more people and begin to help some of the other nonprofits that are in the community. So it's not just Harmony trying to take over and serve everything and fill every single lane, but they're identifying smaller nonprofits that have been in the community that can also serve in those spaces where Harmony lacks. So it's been trust, it's been investment in Harmony, in their partnership and their ability to be good stewards of it, but it's also seeing them partner with other organizations to serve the whole community.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that I mentioned earlier is that, you know, Harmony has the food pantry. And, you know, being healthy is really important, making sure that you have good food choices. And it's not missed on any of us that this area sits in a food desert. And so oftentimes it's a difficult task to be able to get good food so that you can continue to grow. But Nadine, I know this morning Dallas County Health in Parkland released our annual community health report this morning. And if you look at some of the data, it oftentimes tells us that if you live, you know, creates that north and south divide. If you live south, you have a shorter life expectancy due to quality of life opportunities that are not necessarily here. But what does the data say about Southern Dallas that the headlines are missing?
So I do want to start with the question of what are the headlines about Southern Dallas, because Councilman Gracie said it, that Southern Dallas is changing, but in some ways the narrative or the data about this place does not, and it impacts everything. It impacts economic development, it makes Terrence's job a lot harder. It impacts residential development, which is something that CFT is very interested in. And you know, when you think about what people think about, the first metrics that come to mind about Southern Dallas are often about poverty. So it is true that Southern Dallas has a higher poverty rate than the city of Dallas as a whole, and that has certain other challenges that come with it in terms of crime or lower educational attainment. But there is another story, and we are a data-forward, a data-driven organization that is looking at the full story. And what we see is, that Southern Dallas is the place of opportunity for folks within our community who are looking for a foothold in terms of home ownership. I mean, the home ownership rate in Southern Dallas is higher than it is in Northern Dallas. We have more families here, younger families. The cost of a home is lower, which gives people, again, that opportunity to start on their journey to building home equity. So that is the story from a data perspective that really gave us confidence as we were moving forward with our housing strategy to bring it to Southern Dallas, when some people were saying that wouldn't be wise because, if you build it, they won't come. But again, we know that there is demand for living in Southern Dallas and having the amenities, the quality of life that we can get with further development, but we need to do that in a way that makes space for a lot of different kinds of people, including those who have lived here for generations.
So Nadine, when I think about, when I'm hearing what you say, you're busy looking at data. You guys are deploying capital. When you think about your housing strategy, Terrence, you're busy redeveloping and building infrastructure to support the growth that's coming into Southern Dallas. And then Councilmember Gracie, you're ensuring that the policies are in place to really support the growth, not just today, but when I think about my children, and their children and their children, this is something that will continue to go for generations and the generations. And so if y'all could speak to the audience just a little bit, what's one direct ask that you ask of everyone in this room, and something that they can carry back to their friends and their families, something that they can do to ensure that Harmony continues to grow, and more importantly, that the investments in Southern Dallas continue, and not that it's a philanthropic investment, because when I think about not-for-profit organizations, I think the one thing that I'll share is I think it's important to see them as a strategic partner, and not just as a philanthropic handout. And so when you start to think about that, I'd like for you to just kind of share a little bit about what you would ask of this group of folks that are here, because we know they're committed to Harmony, we know they're committed to Southern Dallas, we know they're committed to the city of Dallas, but what is something that they can do and put into action today when they walk out of this room to ensure that Harmony continues and also that Southern Dallas continues to thrive? I'll let each one of you weigh in on that.
I'll start, and one of the things I've been talking here lately to a group of realtors, and the thing I'll say is the narrative. And the narrative is important because in politics, everybody's trying to put something out there, everybody has an interest, but today, for each and every one of you all, it's the narrative of what's actually happening here in Southern Dallas, and being able to share that story and championing what's happening in and around the area, whether that's to your family, to your friends, or to your professional contacts, and really understanding and advocating for what's happening. Southern Dallas isn't a risk. Southern Dallas is an investment opportunity, and I think that's what should be made known. And in addition to that, they're not just people like us sitting up here. There's a group of us standing together saying that Southern Dallas is an investment opportunity. And one thing I failed to mention is you have 2 council members, 2 Concord members that actually serve. Lori Blair is a council member for District 8, which is the Redbird Mall. I have everything else. You have 2 council members that are championing for this area, and I'm asking that you all do that, whether that's from a banking relationship perspective, from a services, but understanding what's really happening and telling the world what's going on in and around this area.
You want to weigh in on that, Terrence?
Yeah, I think it's for me, and I think about Harmony, I think finding opportunities just to send words of encouragement. The work that Pastor Porter is doing day in and day out, because I see him and all the things that he's managing, from time to time, just send a note, and said, hey, keep up the good work, that he can pass along to his team. because they're in the trenches each and every day. And sometimes you never know, your email can be sent just at the right time when you need that sort of boost of encouragement.
Nadine?
So Sheree, you literally took words out of my mouth. I mean, I would have said that we need to think not in terms of giving gifts or donations to an organization that is as foundational to a community like Harmony CDC, but rather to create strategic partnerships. And yes, part of that involves capital, but there's actually far more to it. And we've seen that actually in our relationship over the years with Harmony CDC, which became involved with CFT many years ago when CFT was running a program called Working Family Success Network. My dear friend and former colleague Wendy Burton is here, who was the leader of that initiative. And they observed this effort that was taking place in the city of Dallas to enhance economic security with a very specific framework and said, we want to be a part of that. And they began to learn alongside the nonprofits who were doing that program, eventually receiving a grant so that they could also begin to internalize some of those practices. I mean, that is a relationship. It is speaking to, not only CFT's strategy, but the vision that Harmony CDC had for itself. It may not have been there at the start, but it grew over time to, as I said, build capacity in those areas. And so I urge all of us to identify what is our strategy that intersects with Harmony's strategy or with another powerful community quarterback's strategy, and then how do we walk alongside them with capital and other kinds of connections and resources.
Thank you for that. That was great, you guys. So let's just think about it for a moment. We saw us go around the moon a couple of weeks ago, and so we know that all things are possible. So if you guys will just kind of dream with me for a little bit, and let's just think about Harmony. Let's think about Southern Dallas. Help me complete this sentence. 25 years from now, and dream your biggest dream. 25 years from now, Harmony will be known as what? Or Southern Dallas will be known as what? Help me complete that sentence.
All right, I go. Man, that's a big question.
You got a dream.
You know what I mean? That's ooh. All right, I'm gonna see. 25 years from now, Harmony will be in a position where it is not just serving communities, it's serving organizations that serve communities. And 25 years from now, Southern Dallas, Redbird in particular, will be that community that we talked about 25 years ago. And again, when I say it's happening, it is. So it's hard for me to say 25 years from now what that'll look like, because 25 years is happening right now as we speak. And it continues to evolve. Just like Harmony got where they are, we're continuing to evolve. Harmony is evolving, and so is Southern Dallas, and we're doing it together. And I think that's what's most important.
Yeah, 25 years from now, I see this area as so transformed in so many different ways. What's really unique about this season is that's so encouraging is thanks to Councilman Gracie, we now have this new public improvement district, which is going to help catalyze so much improvement in a relatively quick time. There's already plans to redo Camp Wisdom. There's so many other things that are just coming. The other thing that's interesting is you're starting to see a leadership shift too. Like I was with Pastor Jonathan Evans, who's now taken over the reins at Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship, and he's inspired to build. And they own about 300 acres in the area. And then you have all these other entities that are working in a unique alignment. So when I think about 25 years from now, I see Redbird as a model for other urban communities across the U.S. to be done the right way. It's been done through partnerships, with community-based organization. It's been done with faith leaders. It's been done with community partners, with investors. And it wasn't an overnight win, but when you look at it, you say, okay, it took us 50 years to decline, but it took us 25 years to be transformed. And so I'm really encouraged about that.
I mean, I couldn't say it any better than these gentlemen have. You know, we are at the cusp of major transformation in Southern Dallas. And the people who will be at the vanguard of that, some of them are in this room, and we know some of the names of those who aren't here. I just recently had an opportunity to get a preview of a map of Southern Dallas that was done a few years ago. It's called the Infrastructure Desert Map. So Professor Barbara Minsker at SMU created this map, and it showed 8 years ago quite a lot of segments of our community that that were characterized by having a predominance of low-income folks and poor infrastructure. So Professor Minsker has updated her map, and you're going to see it in the next couple of months, and it will show vast transformation over the last 8 years, where now many of those areas that were infrastructure deserts are no longer. And I mean, I do data for a living. It's very difficult to actually see data improve and in that period of time. But what it means is that we have seen growth. So we have seen gentrification, right? New people with more income coming into neighborhoods, and as a result of that development, some improvements in shared infrastructure. So obviously there's benefits, but there's risk. And so I think the people, you know, in the room at the vanguard have to decide what the next 25 years will look like. Will we continue to have the culture and the diversity and the opportunity that we have now in Southern Dallas, or will we turn over and become a really vastly different community that maybe we don't recognize today?
Nadine, thank you for that. Terrence, thank you for that. Councilmember Gracie, thank you for that. I want to ask you guys to do one thing as well. I put them on the spot and I asked them to dream. And I want to make sure before you leave today that you look over at your neighbor and you share your dream of Southern Dallas with them. You share your dream of what harmony is going to look like. Because as each one of them mentioned, it takes a partnership, it takes a community, and as my mom says, it takes a village. And so we want you to continue to be a part of this village and the work that's happening here. And so I want to just say thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for joining me on this panel today. I hope you guys enjoyed everything that they had to say as well. Thank you.